Welcome, dear readers, to Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours trulies. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
And we find ourselves once more, well, no, not among the towering stacks of your library.
Just turn off this way down the corridor.
Thank you.
Let me unlock this door here for you.
Oh, can I use my library card to swipe?
No, it doesn't work on this. This requires the old skeleton type key. I mean, it had the locks on it, but I had them replaced for this model.
Completely understand the need for security, because for the readers at home, we are taking a trip to the book repair studio.
Absolutely. Let me unlock this here, and you can see we've got the...
Do we need to wait outside while you check out the interior?
No, that's fine. Just come along inside with me.
This is one of those rare areas that's just completely safe to approach sight unseen.
Like, don't get your fingers under the book cutter. But
I sleep with dinosaurs. I really don't. Yeah,
but I'm just saying.
Well,
So have a look around. We've got the work surfaces here. This is basically where all repairs are done to damaged books, and certain books, when they come in, they get a pre-treatment before they go onto the shelf.
I noticed that you have a lot of like paperback conversions to hardback,
yes,
or the where you put the cardstock on and they're laminated.
We cut the covers off. We re-glue the backs, and we put them in a hard.
Quick question.
Me mostly, and a few of the temporary staff that occasionally comes in.
I should probably ask about that maybe next time.
There's just some people who help me with the book binding. I know the basics. I do a little bit of the repairs myself.
I'm sure that'll come up in a future episode.
Yes,
we'll
absolutely.
Just have to tune back in.
I mean, I'm no expert, obviously. I'm not a restorer of fine books.
But you do excellent work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, if we have a box standard book, then I can obviously do basic repairs in it. But if we got the classic leather-bound tomes, you need separate skills for that, especially if the gilding needs new work. But so yeah, there's the book guillotine over there. Like, remember, no fingers.
Okay, yeah, no, that's very clearly stated on there. No fingers.
Over there's the cabinet with the glues.
Quick sidebar. What is the book guillotine used for?
Oh, it's for after you're done binding the book. It's to square off the edges. It's like you basically you put the book under a... Yes.
No, honey, this is where bad books go to die.
No, that's not in this department.
This is when you... This is when you have a bourgeois revolution and the old book monarchy needs to be...
that kind of thing is not good for libraries. Last time that happened was in Alexandria, and nobody's been there since, and there's probably good reason for it. Either it doesn't exist anymore, or something else happened to it.
Well, that applies to a lot of things in the universe. Like, either they don't exist, or something happened to them.
Well,
like, it's very rarely that something exists and nothing happens to it.
Politicians sometimes, but...
Okay. So we're here at my request, so thank you for opening up this highly secure part of your library that even my library card that I earned a few episodes ago doesn't give access to, because you know the damage that I've caused to your indexing system.
That's specifically why I had this room removed from the card key system and went back to a physical old-fashioned key.
Completely understand.
Also, I don't want you raiding the rare supplies that we use for repairing the old tomes and suddenly finding like you having constructed a fishnet out of like rare calfskin leather, which costs like...
I could go fishing.
No, you couldn't, because you're not getting back into this room without supervision.
No, but that's a great idea. I'll have a look around the rest of the areas that I do have access to and see what I can fashion. Okay,
I'll get you a ball.
No, it's
of rope.
fine. It's really fine.
Okay, good.
Well, there has been another incident.
Oh dear.
I've been building a visitor center. For the Velociraptors, and they've really taken to like pretending to be tourists and pretending to be like.
I was going to say they live here; they don't need to visit, but
it's all theatre, and they really appreciate that, and I have that in common with them. We like a bit of pretend. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I've been a little. What's the adjective for hubris?
You have been Hubris?
I've been myself.
Okay.
Essentially.
Fair enough.
And
overly ambitious.
And a little careless in that, because my main guide in constructing this book fort has been Jurassic Park, the novelization of the book based on the film based on the novel, and I didn't put it back on its shelf when we went to sleep, and I'm afraid it got damaged a little bit. But I think it's fixable.
Was it chewed on by a Velociraptor?
Yeah. It was pecked quite severely. When I woke up, they were very agitated, and like Guinevere was going to town on it. But
which page were they at?
They were going from the outside in. Like, trying to demo. I don't think any of the pages were affected.
There wasn't a particular passage in the book that got them upset?
Not that I could detect. I mean, I tried to... Things are a bit testy between me and the Velociraptors now because I had to shoo them away. Well, they don't completely understand my mime. But
I can imagine.
I would like to fix it. As you can see, there's a lot of superficial damage. I think the cover is largely fixable.
Well, it's one of the pockets which was converted to a hardback in-house.
Yes, so that's why I'm very hopeful.
Take the cover off and put it in a new hardback, and it should be okay. I mean, it was not like it's been checked out very often.
Well, that whole section of novelizations of films based on novels is not particularly beloved.
It's not.
I certainly haven't seen any visitors there.
No, I mean, there's like the...
I haven't seen any visitors anywhere.
It's like one of those things. Like you have a book collection, you have two options. Either you start a library and you don't let people in, or you start a bookshop and you try not to sell anything.
Well, I'm glad that you chose this option, because if I lived in a bookshop for, what are we going to... 24, week 24, I think we're going on.
Yeah, going on 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, we'd basically be reenacting black books at that point, wouldn't we?
Yes, either that or, like I said, the alternative would be having me being Aziraphale from Good Omens.
We're recording this in advance, so it's very possible that that's already aired by the time this episode comes out.
I'm not sure when it's coming out.
Neither am I. It could have already been.
Oh dear. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I need to check up on the time travel grammar section, which I think Douglas Adams started.
The future past imperfect tense. I believe.
Subjunctive.
It might have already happened at some point.
Yeah, if only we spoke Finnish, because they can actually construct that. Like they can conjugate a single verb to.
I was just saying they keep it in one word too.
Yeah, one verb that is. They were going to have wanted to have said.
Yes.
Which apparently is still allowed to make sense, and then they Finnish. It's a beautiful language.
It's like very, useful, I suppose. I mean, do people know that thing?
Do people know Finnish? Well,
I mean, do they know how to do that kind of thing off the top of the head, or do you actually need to have a degree in Finnish?
You speak more Finnish than I do. I mean,
I don't know. I never got that far.
I mean, we can say that they were going to have wanted to have said. Like, we could probably construct that in Dutch, just knowing all the various.
Oh yeah.
Verb conjugations and which order they go in. So it seems like...
Zij zouden dat gezegd willen hebben?
They were going to... Nee, ze hadden dat gezegd gaan willen hebben.
Yes.
They were going to have what... No. Oh, zij gingen dat gezegd hadden... Oh, okay.
Never mind.
Apologies to the Anglophone folks at home
we were not clearing our throats. We were merely trying to...
This is just what Dutch sounds like. We have an Emirati friend who visited, and we asked him, like, what does Dutch sound like? And he was like, people bitch about Arabic sounding like you're clearing your throat and like you're speaking Klingon, but those people have never heard Dutch. And it's true.
Yes, absolutely. It's like roll your R's, growl your G's, and spit your S's, and you've got a good chance of speaking Dutch.
But even then, in a tiny country that we have such a variety of dialects. Like, how do you roll your? I mean, they growl their R's down south, and the ch is a ch, and the r is a r.
And like in Bostonian, which only has 25 letters in the alphabet. There's no R in there.
And I don't think there's... Bastard. Yeah, gonna park the car in the garage at Harvard Yard. Which I guess also cuts down on how many vowels they need. Okay, so I'm going to be working on restoring this book, but that's not going to stop us from reviewing this week's book. So what do we have in store for our readers this week?
This week's book is by Dominique Verseau. It's called Yolanda, the Girl from Erosphere.
Oh, I loved it. I love the cover. I love that it's I mean, okay, so for the readers at home, if you look down at your podcasting device, you should be seeing the cover of today's book, and otherwise check the show notes for an image and a link. And what we have is a 70s, like, Barbarella, Bond girl, like,
blonde
saucy
bombshell,
but chaste.
The first in a science fiction adventure series starring the beautiful sexologist on an intergalactic mission of love. How 70s can you get?
Right! Part of that once, the sexual liberation, and also pretty salacious for people who like the lady folk. I don't think it was explicitly for gentlemen.
Definitely not. I mean, well, that's the whole thing. It's like, there's some girl-on-girl action in this.
Certainly is once she arrives on the planet Sappho 4, but we'll get there.
So what I don't get is why she's got a Triforce on her uniform.
Oh, I hadn't even seen that.
Yes, it's like, I think it's just a bit of a like artistic liberty there or something. Or maybe there's like she is Zelda.
Well, she's essentially wearing a midriff-bearing tunic, and it's green, so maybe she's Link.
Suppose.
I believe there was a game where Zelda cross-dressed, and I know that I've read a lot of fan fiction where Link cross-dressed.
Oh, God.
Little thing for Link.
Well,
it's the tights, I guess, and it's got the cool hat, and he's so fit, and he's rah rah. Let's go.
Well, the rah rah. That's about all he ever says.
Yeah, those are called efforts, by the way.
Beware of pots.
Of pots. Hold on.
Pots beware. I think it's like. Hang on, I'm gonna have a look.
Yeah, I think this is.
Need to lubricate the throat a little bit more.
It's good advice that any sexologist will give you.
Oh, absolutely. Too much lube is almost enough.
According to some participants.
No, I agree. Everything with measure.
Everything in moderation, yes. Including moderation.
Or as the Germans say, mäßig, aber regelmäßig.
Oh, that's nice. So let me see. How's an elegant way to translate that? So it's moderate but regular. No.
Yeah, moderate but regularly.
Yeah, it's tough to do. There was another phrase that I really like in German. That was. It was a critique of a children's choir. Das war nicht schön, aber schon laut. So that wasn't pretty, but it was pretty loud.
Yes. German is a great language for that kind of thing.
And do we think that maybe our heroine here, Yolanda, I mean, Yolanda, I know that as a German name, but I also know it as a French name. And I believe it's popular in Scandinavia. It's very popular in the Netherlands.
Yeah, all over the place.
She certainly has Teutonic features. So she's in a space control center with an asymmetric window behind her, looking out over a starscape. She's wearing a bikini bottoms with a big old belt.
I was wondering if that was the intergalactic chastity belt. I mean, I think that's in the book. When she on her mission gets captured on Shagdan 4, it's
strange how she always went to the fourth planet. Like
I know, it's like completely random. Maybe Mr. Dominique had something with the number 4. There's plenty of foursomes in the book, so it's...
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Do we think that the writer is a gentleman or a lady or a non-binary person?
Dominique. It's another one of those names. It can be anything.
In French, it's very difficult to tell.
Dominique.
No,
Dominique
Q-U-E. Q-U-E at the end. So that's the feminine
Dominique
form.
is usually when it ends in a C.
You say it the same, but I think we should assume that the writer identifies as female if she's comfortable with that spelling of her name. So to finish the cover, we have Yolanda, and she's wearing her space uniform, and she's wearing her intergalactic chastity belt.
Clearly not a spacesuit, but yes.
Well, no, but perhaps the undergarment for a spacesuit.
Oh, yes. One of those urinary collection devices, as I believe they're officially called on the International Space Station.
See, this is why I'm not... This and many reasons is why I'm not an astronaut. A problem that has probably been solved by the time of Yolanda's time.
We have nanotech materials who shape-shift and form to the desired.
They still called them super plastics in the book because nanotech was a bit advanced. But I like this idea that all this old-fashioned futuristic stuff was actually futuristic. It just had old-fashioned names.
It's like back in the days when Disneyland first opened, you had Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Which depicted the far future of 1985. It was and they had to revamp it a few times because it got a little bit dated. But
just move it up a little bit.
So I always thought that was very amusing to read about it. Like when,
I wonder what was in there.
Oh well, it was just spaceship carousels and stuff like that.
Because we had a techno-futurist in the Netherlands, Mr. Griet Titulaar.
Oh yes.
He has the large baboon beard, and he had that southern accent. He had the soft zachte G, the soft G. But this was in a time where he could still have an hour-long weekly program talking about cool shit that he'd seen in a trade show that he went to in Germany.
If you watch it now, it's completely slow, and people are even umming and ahhing on television. It's all one-take stuff.
So unproduced.
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing to watch that now.
And then he had an exhibition as well, The House of the Future.
Yes.
In his work.
Terrible. Yes.
But he spoke English. I mean, he was an international traveler, and he went to Japan to trade shows to look at these cool new magnetic tape technologies and smaller color screens. And in the House of the Future, it responded to voice commands to open up the atrium above the pool room,
open the windows, or open the curtains, and
dimmer switches, and color shifting.
But it's remarkable how long it's taken for that kind of domotica stuff to actually get to a general use stage.
the smart home automation,
it's just about starting to get there, and it's
well, yeah, because I mean, much of the stuff that was promoted then honestly didn't work, and even today kind of doesn't work a lot of the time either.
It tends to break down a lot. And
you ask your smart home assistant of choice, half the time they don't hear you, and you have to remind them.
And sometimes when you didn't say anything at all, they go hey, hello, let me interject myself into this.
It's like listening to a particularly rowdy episode of Game of Thrones or Farscape, and just suddenly they'll dim the lights because they heard something saucy being said. I wonder how much of that would happen if Yolanda had been given the film treatment.
Maybe in the 70s they could have made it, but it would have probably been a cheap, soft focus, Vaseline on the lens.
Is that really?
I think that's what
you're talking about. Look at Barbarella, which admittedly has been a while since I've seen it, but it had that excellent, truly excellent, zero-G scene opening. Phenomenally done.
I suspect it probably would have been something more like Emmanuelle. She must have done so much damage to flight attendants.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, come on. How many people will try to get it on with the flight attendants just because they saw that movie and thought that they'd be
oh, is that true?
I'm afraid it would be.
Oh, Lord.
People thought that that's how you're supposed to treat a flight attendant.
I didn't know that was her thing. I thought she was one of those multi-movie vamps, sort of like Debbie does, Dallas, whatever. She was a porn actress. But who am I thinking of? Oh, Elvira, or Elvira, how you're supposed to say it.
Something else entirely. Yes.
Right, but she was a character who she was based on Allure. I don't think.
Yes.
I mean, she might have gotten a boob out, but I don't think she went full.
And that's what I liked about Yolanda so much. It was much more of a positive image. It was much.
Yeah. I mean, she was definitely titillating, but that's because, in her view, sex is fun in all of its in all of its forms.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful and powerful.
I guess that's why she got sent out as diplomatic envoy.
Yeah. In this crazy universe where sex is a universal currency in a lingua franca, and honestly, why wouldn't it be?
As I say, that sports brings nations together. In this case,
come together right now. Over me. Oh yeah, there was that one scene. That was
well, yes.
It just seemed unhygienic to me, but
a lot of sex is. If it got invented now, it would be banned for being unhygienic.
This was the 70s. Hygiene and physical grooming standards were different. People were hairier in some areas, but
I think that actually started as a thing just to sell razors.
No way.
Yes, it's one of those things.
That is so crazy plausible.
Some shaving companies started marketing razors towards women shaving their armpits, and it suddenly became completely unacceptable for women to have armpit hair. Got half the population that we're not selling our product to. Let's see if we can change this with a little bit of...
When, beach going became a unisex thing, women had to have smooth legs and smooth underarms.
But for a while, there was, literally police checking to see whether or not the bathing suits of the ladies came down far enough. I mean, there's plenty of photos where, there's this copper with a tape measure checking to see whether or not the ladies...
Yeah, no, you can clearly see in the photo that the copper's got a yardstick.
Well, there's that too.
No, it's... Oh, I once went to, in Berlin, in Germany, they had a really cool, really compact museum about life in the DDR, Eastern Germany. And it was really cool, interactive, really compact museum with lots of, drawers to pull out and a lot of stuff. You can squeeze yourself into a little Trabant car, and they had a living room from that era. It was all really, really cool. And then there was a whole part about nudism.
Oh, yes.
Nudism was huge in the entire Eastern Bloc.
Oh, especially in Germany. I mean, the whole Weimar Republic Germany was extremely liberal about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that communism could not stamp out. They tried, But the Germans, especially the East Germans, were like staunch about that whole thing. We are going out there and we're going to do it in the buff. And they had like a whole Baltic Sea colonies. Half of them were nudist colonies.
Families go on vacation and they play volleyball and whatever, and you go swimming and you're just nude.
And to this day, I mean, going to a sauna in Germany, if you walk in there with your bathing suit, you will be stared at. But how do you spot the Englishman in a German sauna? It's like he's wearing his bathing suit.
They have this distinction, and I believe the Japanese have it as well, between like nude and, I don't want to say naked. Let me see. Naked. Like, let's say it like that. Like, naked is you're not wearing any clothes and you're up to something. And nude is you're just not wearing any clothes.
That makes sense.
Being nude in the onsen or in the Arabic world, the hammam.
Yes.
You know, in Europe throughout almost all of history.
In Sweden, it's almost normal for someone to get changed in any place where there's like it's suitable. And then the thing is, like you just don't look. That's like nobody worries about it because everybody goes like, someone's changing, you just don't look at them.
Yeah, and it's not like a big deal. It's like a mother nursing her baby. Like, okay, so that's at the bus stop. Let's give this woman some privacy. Like, baby needs to be fed.
For a baby happily nursing over a baby screaming because it's hungry.
Exactly.
Not back to the front cover. So I think that like I mean, we've got the front. We've done the front cover. So do you think that there's a spaceship in the background?
Yeah.
I mean, the spaceship that was mentioned most in the book was the HMS Tallywhacker. So do you think that's she's standing on the bridge of that, looking out this like oddly shaped window, or is that the Tallywhacker that's in the background?
Well, it's either the HMS Tallywhacker or the USS Sutakarma. So it's on one looking in the other. I'm going to lean toward Sutakarma is where she's standing on, because that was the sort of pan-Eastern coalition versus the HMS Tallywhacker was obviously Her Majesty's Navy, HMS. But a name like Tallywhacker, like there's nothing subtle about that, like because it means. Oh, can we say it on the podcast? Can we say
an R rating anyway? I think
it means penis.
It does.
Ooh.
Isn't it awfully nice to have a penis?
Isn't it awfully nice to have a cock?
Isn't it great to have a dong? It's fine to have a stiffy. It's great to have a dick. From the tiniest little toucher to the world's biggest prick. So 3 cheers to your Willie or John Thomas. Hooray for your one-eyed trouser snake. Your piece of pork, your wife's blood friends, your pussy or your cock. You can wrap it up in ribbons, you can stick it in a sock. But don't take it out in public or they'll put you in the dock and you won't come back. So, thank you very much. Thank you to Monty Python.
Thank you, Monty Python, for that excellent contribution to our cultural heritage. I can only imagine that was the ship's song on the HMS Tallywhacker.
I can totally imagine it.
Yeah, where Captain Todger and what was it?
It was Long Dong Silver.
Long Dong Silver, yes, that's right. Todger was the admiral. How did she wind up in the first place on the HMS Tallywhacker?
It was the ship that she was assigned to on her as being a diplomatic envoy. It was like, okay, you can go to that ship and they're at your disposal and they'll go wherever you tell them to take you.
I thought it was very interesting to meet this crew, where the male identifying members of the crew were all euphemisms for penis. So you had you had Long Dong Silver. I think that was a nickname, but you had steersman Benedict.
Yes.
It's just a little bit obvious, but also kind of cute. I do like that. And she got on well with him, and they banged, obviously. I mean, she gave him the appropriate access code to her intergalactic chastity belt, which, like, does it even deserve to be called a chastity belt when it's more like an access control system?
Especially the DNA coding to unlock it was like, really, okay, you're going to have to do a little bit of DNA sample, and of course, like...
That did, like, for the gentleman that she had social intercourse with. That at least took the edge off, and they were able to focus a little bit more on having a satisfying mutual experience.
This is where they ran into the USS Sutakarma. Was of course on the edge of the DPZ, the depornalized zone. This was like what she was being sent out on her diplomatic mission.
This was an area where their previous sexual envoys had very limited success.
When their sexologists achieve a certain career level, they've kind of grown out of the situation in the United Kingdoms. There's nothing more they can teach there.
Or learn for that matter.
Yes, that's what Yolanda is doing. That's when they go on the long wank to bring porn to the pornless.
Christ, what a good book. This is such a good book. Yes, that's right. She's one of the younger members of her sororal order.
It's like unheard of at her age to already go on the long wank. And of course, where better to go than to the depornalized zone, because like that's where the most.
Yeah, the depornalized zone was described as a sort of fallout zone for a galaxy-sized Copland Bomb. As you recall, the Copland Bomb also appeared in the book Operation Damocles, where it
created the gay belt. Yes.
Created the gay belt. Do you remember where it ran from? Like from mid-Florida?
No. It ran to Florida, from Minnesota to
How
Florida.
do you remember that every time? I've heard you struggle naming like characters or actors or people that you have personally met, but you invent this bullshit gay belt, this bullshit location just off the top of your head, and you can correct me on it every fucking time. How does your brain work? It's amazing.
I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I could put it to good use.
The initial effect of the Copland Bomb was to turn everyone gay with the idea that
it's called the Great Baron for a good reason.
Yeah, because apparently everybody just fucked each other's brains out, and they're kind of over it now. So it was on the USS Sutrakarma that Yolanda meets a fellow sexologist, Anangaranga. Her name was
Sex is natural, sex is fun.
Yeah,
it's best when it's one on one.
Oh,
well, that was like George Michael's take on it.
Well, that's a little limiting for.
I don't think he'd like. I'm pretty sure. Like even when it was in the public bathrooms, it was still only one other contestant. But so, as they were being stopped and searched by the USS Sutrakarma, being searched for contraband before they could move through with Captain Winky at the helm.
Wait, I thought you said it was Long Dong Silver was the captain.
That was the captain of the Tallywhacker.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Some harsh words between Long Dong Silver and Captain Winky.
Oh, yes.
Across
impressive sword fight that the two had.
Yeah, and then I'll see you in my quarters. Yes, you definitely shall. And then we didn't see any more of them for quite a while.
No,
and that's where I was wrong about this. What we're seeing on the cover is not the USS Sutrakarma from the bridge of the HMS Tallywhacker, but this is where she and her ace pilot, Friedlander, escaped the HMS Tallywhacker on one of their short-range vessels.
Yeah.
In order to head into the depornalized zone without causing an incident, she relies on her ace pilot, Friedlander, who can keep her mind focused on the mission.
Yes.
Which is a huge relief, because very often she'll try to explain to someone what she's been sent out to do as a diplomatic envoy and as a sexologist, and pretty soon someone will
want some hands-on experience. Friedlander, as a native of the DPZ, is well suited to this whole. I'm not quite sure like how generations work in the depornalized zone, and everybody's like stop shagging each other, because the book kind of hand waves that a little bit.
I wonder if IVF was in vitro fertilization was known at the time that this book was written.
Don't know.
So and Friedlander has some harsh barbs, jokey words to say about the intergalactic chastity belt, that she thinks it's something that's so unnecessary and almost kind of insulting to a woman of Yolanda's academic standing.
She had to agree to wear it in order for the Captain Winky to allow her into the DPZ.
So it's during that intellectual intercourse that these women have that we learn a lot more about the world that or the universe that happened, because it's very tempting to you look at the cover and you think it's going to be a fun, liberated sex romp throughout the universe, but it's actually a pretty well thought out extension of. They mention specifically the Wissenschaftlich Humanitäres Komitee, the Scientific Humanitarian Committee, was an initiative and the
pretty Freud, isn't it? Yes.
Right, was doing pretty advanced social science study of subjects like homosexuality and transgenderism are different, and transgenderism and transvestitism isn't the same, and there was this idea that through scientific understanding with compassion that we could have more just societies by investigating these very normal parts of human existence.
How people experience sexuality, or the lack thereof in the case of the deportalized zone and ace pilot.
Not just necessarily people, but by the narrow standard. I mean, this is where there's a little crossover with an earlier book that we've discovered. This is where we encountered Stormfang Bloodmoon II.
Oh, that's
Do you remember her?
Story. Which episode was that from again?
I believe that was way back in episode 2, an episode that we've also referred to quite recently, the recurrence of a book on the theme of hunky cat men that we like. Well, but this was, I believe, in that book by
yes,
Anne Logston.
Oh wow, very good.
You've got your gay belt geography. I've got my authors down. So yeah, the book by Anne Longston. And when I read that original book that we reviewed back in episode 2, I was kind of critical about the appearance of Stormfang Bloodmoon II. I mean, she was this overbearing, imperious figure that sort of came out of nowhere and didn't contribute very much to the plot, but I appreciated her a lot more here. But it's fair to say that she stonewalled them initially. Yeah. There's a certain and then literally brought them to the Great Stone Wall. Yeah. So the Great Stone Wall for this civilization of multi-legged cat people that Stormfang Bloodmoon is in charge of, a civilization that apparently the rest of the human space nations have never encountered, because the depornalized zone is in the middle of them.
Absolutely. It was being patrolled way too correctly, and it's it was definitely a new type of sexuality for her to explore and learn from. I mean,
multiple sets of genitals.
Yeah, the whole position book had to be rewritten from the ground up.
Because, Stormfang Bloodmoon II was a sort of a centaur figure, but then with
feline features.
Yeah. Still, arguably, I'm still not convinced what their size was of their species. I'm still...
Well, you see, yes.
I'm still picturing 4 foot tall, tabby, cat men and women, cat people, with some extra hindquarters. So
yes, and sharp claws.
Oh, they're still ferocious.
4, 6, yes.
Who do we eviscerate?
It says 7 out of 8 extremities are pointy. Well,
wait, okay.
Teeth, claws. And I suppose in the males, they would have 9 extremities.
If they had a cat penis. Wow. We haven't said any swears, but I think this definitely counts as...
Cat penis is not a swear word.
No, I know that cat penis is not a swear word, but I don't necessarily want to admit how much anatomical knowledge I have about various genitalia, or why that's a perfectly normal thing for an adult man to know. No, they have barbs, don't they? They have it's sort of like hairs. I think are
I don't know,
fundamentally in a way that on human skin you can have
goosebumps. Yeah,
but there it's the not the follicles, but the encapsulation of the hair root has erectile tissue. And so it can stand on end.
I've never examined it too closely.
Flesh?
I don't know.
You've never had goosebumps?
Oh, I've had goosebumps, but I've never examined feline penises too closely.
So the Great Stone Wall for this civilization was there a major crisis in the sexual identity of this civilization.
Their sexuality had stagnated, basically. They were just doing the one thing over and over.
The reproductive
it was basically
thing.
A reproductive thing, and that was it. And Yolanda's appearance there was a revelation to them. It was just
let me tell you about all this cool stuff that I know about.
Oh, why would you do that? Because it's fun.
Because it's fun. Yeah, she was applying galactic sex therapy.
Oh, yes.
Liberating these peoples from very limited, stifling ideas of how they could have
reproduction.
Intercourse essentially with each other. I actually once visited Intercourse in Pennsylvania.
Oh, very good.
It's a little town. It's where I met some Amish people, or where I encountered some Amish people. Oh. And I also loved that while this would have been an opportunity in a sort of exploitation story to have crazy zero-G, multi-limbed sex, her focus is on the absolute basics of sensual pleasure. The very first thing that she does is she brings one of her brushes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you just sit down here.
And we'll have a bit of a grooming session.
And how nice is that?
I mean, she's got the hair for it, so...
Right? Do you remember the first time that you had one of those, what's it called, those scalp massage?
Oh, those head scratcher thingies.
The head scratcher,
those
with metal
tentacles.
Tentacles.
Oh my God,
first time you had one on your head is, I didn't know that my body could do this, and please never stop.
Absolutely.
Do you ever done it on a dog?
Yeah, I've seen videos, yeah.
And they just...
Dogs at first is what's this? And you can see it just go completely gomless and go
Oh, yeah. Because it feels great. So I just love this idea that that's the big revolution that she can bring. And she starts from the ground up as a trained sexual scientist can do. You have all of these senses that can be brought to heights of ecstasy. And I just really enjoy that it was such a sex positive, but also in the case of the ace pilot, that there was way more to it than sex.
Absolutely.
For a book that initially caught our attention in that it might be salacious and naughty, because I mean, it's a lovely title. Yolanda, the girl from Erosphere.
Yes, it was a lovely book.
So how should we rate this book? I don't think that we've had
I know that this question comes up every time, and it always still catches me off guard, but I'm just like, shit.
But we can do it together. Just as Yolanda would encourage us to, we can, if there's something that needs doing, we can do it together. That's the spirit of the intergalactic. Over me. 69?
Yes, 69.
A solid rock hard 69.
Yeah, let's go. Just like we're not even rated out of anything. We're just going to give it a 60.
No, because you never compare sex to other sex.
No, absolutely. That's poor form, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, sex is like pizza. If it's like if it's bad, it's still pizza. Well, you know what I mean. It's like you've got if it's good, it's good, and if it's bad,
it's still pizza. Huh? Speaking of coming together. Can we really do that? Can we all just come together and... No, that's probably not something that I want to say to the audience right now.
No, let's not do that on our podcast. We want all of our listeners to be sex positive, obviously.
Yeah, but we don't want to necessarily
want to come together.
No, this is for you to enjoy, and there's no way out of this sentence. Speaking of reviews, we love being your dirty little secret, but if you tell a friend about the podcast, and that friend could be like iTunes. iTunes is a pretty good friend to tell about our little podcast. Then something magical might happen, like, I don't know, one of those cute little Pokemons just briefly jumping out of the screen to give you a bit of a cuddle, and thank you for taking them on such adventures. So what do we have in store for our readers next week?
Next week's book is by Pascal Lemierre. It's called Dog Shaming. Alternative training techniques to help you cyberbully your bulldog into shape.
No, that's awful. Dogs are sensitive creatures. What that about covers it. Thank you for joining us at Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay. And remember,
we only judge a book by its cover. No, you don't shame them. I mean, they're very sensitive souls. They know when they've done something wrong.
How many dogs do you know on the internet? Well, that's probably not the right question.
Yeah, the whole saying is on the internet nobody knows that you're a dog.
Yeah, that's right.